Well Together podcast. Welcome to Well Together podcast. In each episode, inspiring conversations from wellness experts will guide you towards a better life. If you are ready, let's start our healthy life journey. In this episode,
welcome to our new episode. Today we have Mert Yılmaz from TheLifeCo headquarters, a longtime colleague, here to talk about cultivating workplace wellness for a balanced life.
Hello everyone, this is Mert. I am a friend of TheLifeCo and I've been a student of life for many years. Nowadays we all talk about mindfulness as if it's a new thing, as if it's the new trend, but it is embedded in our genetic code for many years. Imagine a baby. You never need to tell a baby what to do, what to think, when to breathe, when to stop, when to cry. It is mindful in its essence. The same goes for animals. You will never need to tell a lion to be more mindful. He knows exactly what to do and when to do it. But we have taken it as a new trend and we are seeing a lot of people actually paying a lot of money and suffering a lot of traumas just to be more mindful. This is the nature of today's world, however, it's also quite funny. It's certainly a skill we need to develop if we have forgotten about it. Some of us are more mindful. They are more receptive to changes around them and they are trying to adapt rather than being victims and protesting against what's happening to them. This is specifically true in our current business lives. We are talking about mindfulness in business, but what we expect from our employees or friends or colleagues is just to be more effective, to do more, to sleep less, to work more, to enjoy life less. So we tell them to be mindful, but what we are guiding them towards is actually against the basics of mindfulness. So basically, what is mindfulness then? According to me, it is actually a state where you don't really need to think about anything, but you know what to do. And it can be also described as imagining yourself in the middle of the river on a rock and the water is flowing around you and you're just feeling the wind, watching the water. There's nothing you can do. Things are happening there. A lot of things are happening there. But you are aware that you are just an observer and there is nothing you can do. But sometimes people confuse this kind of feeling with inaction. So mindfulness does not mean you just watch and do nothing. Mindfulness also means that you take decisions that are going to probably affect your whole life in a way that's in alliance with your true nature. This is very important. Most of the time, especially in the business life, people are expected to do things against their nature. So this is why for the last 50-60 years, people are always recommending each other to do what they love. For example, if I'm an accountant and I hate numbers, I will never be able to do this job mindfully. But imagine I'm a singer, I love to sing and I play in a band and everything flows as smooth as possible. So the same goes with mindful leadership as well. In order for us to lead our teams and friends and family and our own lives actually in a mindful way, we have to be aware of our surroundings. And remember, today in 2023 or let's say 21st century, there are more signals than ever in the entire history of world. And all these signals are there to trigger something in us. They are trying to distract us. They are trying to play against our nature, and most of the time they are deceptive enough that they actually change our mind. But if we are mindful enough, we realize all the meaning of these triggers and we just watch them as if they are some logs flowing through the river, remember? So, in order for us to do that in a business kind of way, we have to be aware that not everyone is like we are. Everyone is different. Every job is different. Every time of the day, every month of the year is different. It has different necessities, it has different outcomes, and my actions are probably going to cause different things to happen. So, when you're not mindful, you can just keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, mostly expecting different outcomes, but it will never happen. You will never be able to make it happen. So you enter a vicious circle. And the way to get out of it is actually quite simple. Let me give you a few examples now. Like, one of them is a joke that my boss told me, and I still tell it to everyone I know, and it's actually quite a life lesson. A guy is walking through the forest, and every day he goes through the same path. He's old, like 60, 70 years old. And there's a bench there, and there's a soldier waiting by the bench. And he goes there every day, and every day there's a soldier there. And one day, he just stops and asks the soldier, "My boy, what are you doing here? Why are you here every day?" And the soldier says, "Yeah, I was commanded to stay here, sir, so I have to do what I'm told to do." And then the old man smiles and says, "You idiot, I was the commander of this team, and one day we painted the bench, so I instructed someone to stay on guard there for just one day. It's been 50 years. This is a very, very good joke/life lesson, because most of the time this is what we see in our business life. People are instructed to do things, and even though life forces them to change, they don't change. And most of the time they don't change because no one tells them to change. So in the modern business life especially, people have become like tools of a big machine that no one knows who is running. So this is especially important in today's world, because when the generations change, the way our minds work changes generation by generation. It was the bloomers, X, Y, whatever, and all of them have very, very different patterns. So it is our obligation to show them not how we do things, but how things can be done in certain ways, and it depends on the situation. So being flexible is a generation-free skill. We have to be flexible, and mindfulness is an important part to become flexible, in the sense that we can adapt ourselves according to what's running through this river. So if this is our reality at the moment, what should we do to have some kind of mindfulness practice? Basically, it's very simple. Watch babies, watch animals, see how they do everything so fluently. Okay, because of all these triggers, it's impossible to stay as we are. Or is it? Maybe it's not as hard as you think it is. We have some kind of willpower, intentions, passions, and purpose. So if we have them, it is easy to be mindful because the path is clear in front of us. Most of the time when people are lost and they are not mindful, look at these people. They are usually lacking some kind of purpose in their life. Or, unfortunately, they have been raised in such a way that they have been detached from the environment they live in. So they are actually unaware of what is what. But these people can be helped as well, because mindfulness is such a thing, we can imagine it like kind of a cloud. And the more people enter the cloud, the more they can speak to each other. Think of it like the Avatar's big tree. The more people apply these mindful practices, which may be like 5 minutes of breathing therapy, 1 minute of looking at a plain wall, or just 30 seconds of listening to the wind. I know they all seem like trendy Indian hippie style masquerades, but they are not. Because they are also physically and scientifically necessary. We have to align ourselves back with our surroundings and nature through the signals coming from nature. Another thing that's mostly ruining our work-life integration and mindful regulation is how we receive all these triggers around us. For example, I have a friend who was very sad one day, and I asked her, "What's happening? What happened? Something horrible must have happened." And she showed me a video of some guy kicking a dog in Sri Lanka. And that traumatized her. I know she loves animals and everything, but this is not the right way to live life. We cannot allow ourselves to be affected by all the triggers around us. And another important skill we have to develop is radical acceptance. If some douchebag is kicking a dog in Sri Lanka, I can see it. Remember, I am on a rock in the river and someone is kicking a dog. So I see it, I acknowledge it, I curse maybe for a couple of seconds, but I don't get devastated because there is nothing I can do. If the incident was personally witnessed, it would be different, I agree. Something happening that we cannot have any effect on, maybe on the other side of the world, and we are affected by it in a horrible way. So this brings us to kind of what I call corruption of mind through media effects, or we can call it something else, but you get the point. Because the information technologies have evolved in a way that the news spread too quickly and actually not very accurately most of the time, we are exposed to many things that actually are not in our nature. And that causes what I call human nature mismatch. Human nature mismatch is something very dangerous unless you are mindful. Because when we were in the old ages, we would have adrenaline when we hear a lion roar in the distance, because then our heart pumps blood into our muscles so we can fight it or run away. But now the same thing happens when I get my credit card bill. This is against nature. I am on the red light, someone is honking behind me, and I get adrenaline. But this is not in my nature. I should only get adrenaline if I am facing a threatening situation. But me having a fight with my wife over our child's school education, it's not a real threat, but it sure feels like it to the body. This is why I call it human nature mismatch. Establishments like TheLifeCo are built to face this problem in a very strict and serious way. The reason for TheLifeCo to exist is to help people deal with human nature mismatch so that they can reach their full potential and start being able to eliminate what's real and what's not. And then TheLifeCo hopes to bring an awareness to people that most of the things happening around them, they are actually fake triggers, fake troubles, and they actually should have zero effect on the well-being of the person. But it can have many different effects. For example, remember the girl that was upset because a guy kicked a dog in Sri Lanka? She probably kind of enjoyed a cup of ice cream in the night because she needed kind of an excuse to indulge herself. She needed some excuse to ruin her body. She needed some excuse to raise her blood sugar levels, cholesterol. She needed some excuse to go towards the path of being overweight. But she didn't need any of these things. It is against her nature. So the only reason people were to gain weight back in the days was because difficult times were coming. They had to store some fat for the winter time. But now, through the human nature mismatch, this has changed a lot. This is why centers like TheLifeCo and approaches like we have is very critical for people to understand that what they are doing, they are not doing mindfully. They are acting against their nature. They are acting to indulge themselves. Everyone needs to indulge themselves once in a while, but not in a consistent way. This is what TheLifeCo is about, the human nature mismatch and understanding how our nature has changed, and to encourage people to do anything necessary to revert back to their natural selves. Thank you very much for listening to us. See you in the next episode.
Well Together Podcast. Inspiring stories from TheLifeCo.
Let's listen Tenzin Josh, a mental health expert and former student of the Dalai Lama. He gives valuable insights on how to change our mental habits.
We talk about habits on 3 different levels. There's physical habits, verbal habits, and mental habits. But the most important level of habits is mental habits. Why is that? Because if we look at the physical habits and we look at the verbal habits, and we ask where they're coming from, they're all originating from mental habits. So the most important level to change habits or work with habits is on the mental level. The habit is always a negative habit at least, is always the unskillful way. It's the reaction way. It's one you've built up over many times of doing it again and again. Only way to change that habit, to start to react in a different way, or to change the habits into more positive ones, is to give yourself the mental space to change your intention. So change the intentions in your life. Intention in general is so important. When you get up in the morning, your intention for the day, is my intention just to have a holiday, or is my intention just to eat, or is my intention just to drink, or is my intention to do something meaningful? Or is it to learn something, or to help somebody, or to make a change in the world? The result of your intention comes about from that basic intention. Very classic example, you can do a 5 minutes meditation. If you do that meditation with the intention of feeling relaxed at the end of it, you'll be relaxed for 5 minutes at the end of it. But that's it, it's finished. But if you do the same 5 minutes meditation with the thought that through this meditation my mind will get better and I'll be able to work with my habits and change my habits, then it'll work as long as you need to change your habits, which might be your whole life. Or if you do the same 5 minutes meditation, but you do it with the intention of improving yourself to help every other living being, which is an enormous intention, because there's limitless numbers of living beings, then of course your intention never finishes. Results of your intention never finish until you've helped everybody. So the intention in your mind determines the way you habitually live your life. So the real source or the real root of changing your habits is to change your intentions. Make your intentions more positive, and then what follows on from those intentions becomes more positive as well.
Well Together Podcast.
Are you ready to create the best version of yourself? Your transformation journey starts at TheLifeCo. With over 18 years of experience, TheLifeCo Wellbeing is committed to helping you achieve optimal health and well-being with a unique range of programs and retreats. Holistic well-being experiences that promote longevity and meaning in your life await you at TheLifeCo centers in Bodrum, Antalya, and Phuket. Visit thelifeco.com today to start your wellness journey.
Next episode of the Well Together Podcast.
Benefits of microdosing. How small doses can provide big benefits like omega fatty acids.
Thank you for listening Well Together Podcast.